Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, let me turn this thing off. If you're new here, welcome. Nice to meet you. I'm Natalie. And if you are an OG, welcome back. It's nice to see you, girl. I feel like most of my viewers are female, so if I have any male viewers, I'm sorry. But so today's video, why is my hair all everywhere? Today's video is gonna be on what you should know about graduate school. So I made this video because I had a couple people that I already know, like friends of mine, who reached out to me asking me a lot of questions about grad school because they're getting ready to start grad school. So I figured that I would make a video on this because if they have questions, then probably a bunch of other people got questions too. So pretty much, yeah, graduate school. So that's typically, if you're in high school or like a freshman or something and you don't know what graduate school is like your secondary education. So it's like the school that you go to get your master's degree. However, there are a lot of schools that do like dual programs. Like the school that I work at now, they have a social work, a BSW, MSW, bridge program where you graduate in 3 years, but when you graduate you'll have both your bachelor's in social work and your master's in social work, but it's like an accelerated and very strenuous program. So programs like that, I feel like a lot of people will shy away from or don't go into, but I have a lot of advisees that are in programs like that, especially since I kind of sort of work at like a small Ivy League. So a lot of the programs we have here are very similar. But anyway, one thing I can say about grad school, we'll talk about the GRE. The GRE, I don't even know what it stands for. Hold on. GRE. The acronym for the GRE is a Graduate Records Examination. So the GRE is a test that you don't have to take it, but a lot of people have to take it because of the programs that they're going into to get their graduate degree. So the GRE, it costs a lot of money. It's like $200. So don't take it if you didn't study. But anyway, it's a long test. It's way longer than the ACT. I want to say that it's like the equivalent of, it's like the college version of the ACT. The one thing I can say, I've taken the GRE once and I don't remember learning majority of the things that were on the GRE. Because it's not major based. It's like a culmination of all different subjects. So you're going to do math, you're going to do science, you're going to do like a writing exam, like you're going to do a lot of different things. Anyway, it sucks. It's expensive, it's long, it's stressful. If you happen to find a program for grad school that does not require you to take the GRE, I would highly suggest that you don't. One of the main ways you can guarantee that you can go to school or go to grad school without having to take the GRE is to make sure that you have a decent undergraduate GPA. So if your GPA graduating from undergrad is at least a 2.85, a lot of programs will not require you to take the GRE. But I'm gonna say this, there are some programs that you have to have a 3.0 so that you don't have to take the GRE. So it's really gonna just depend. Sorry, I got an email about work. Anyway, it really is just gonna depend on what your program is. For example, I was a student athlete. I had a job on campus as a football manager. Then I had an off-campus job working as a crew trainer at Hardee's, and on top of that, I was taking a full load of classes, study hall, 2 practices a day. Like, I had a lot going on while I was in college. So when I graduated college, I graduated with a 2.79 GPA as an English major with a minor in ESL, okay? So when it was time for me to go to grad school, I actually went back to my alma mater to do my grad school. And because I did not have a 2.85 GPA, I had to take the GRE. Stupid. My master's is in management and leadership. That master's program that I got into, the first one, because I have 2 master's degrees. So anyway, the GRE sucks. There is an abundance of schools, abundance of programs out there that do not require you to take the GRE. So if you have test anxiety, or you don't like tests, or you simply just don't want to take the GRE and you want to find a school that will allow you to attend graduate school without taking it, it is a large possibility that that will be possible for you, because there are so many schools out there that don't require it, okay? So the next thing is, graduate school is all about time management. So if you don't know how to manage your time now, please start working on it. I'm going to say this, and for some people, it's not, that's not their experience. But for me, with both master's programs, it was my experience. I did learn a lot in my graduate school programs. I feel like I learned more in graduate school than I did in undergrad. However, graduate school was a lot of busy work. A lot of the work that I did was reinforcing what we talked about in class, or reinforcing what we read in our textbooks. So it wasn't, I don't know. It was just a whole lot of like things to keep us busy. Discussion questions, responding to 2 peers with more than 350 words, a quiz every week, a paper every week, like presentations. Like, one of my classes, we learned teaching strategies. And so every week we had to practice a teaching strategy with real life application. And that was literally like 150 points a week. Granted, we did that together as a class during the class, but we also did that for homework. And then we had to respond to other people's things. It was just a whole lot of busy work. I feel like I did learn a lot, but I also feel like a lot of times they have to keep you busy because it's an accelerated program, and without having a whole lot of work to do, grad school kind of seems like a cakewalk. So let's see. Also, work ahead if you can. So especially if you're like in an online program. So I have 2 master's degrees. My first master's degree is in management and leadership, which is a sector of an MBA. And then my second master's is a master's of arts in teaching. Both programs I did online. I can say this. With my first master's, a lot of my classes, I was able to work ahead. So like, say for instance, if your classes are 8 weeks long, my professor would leave all the 8 weeks portals open, and I was able to go in and do work ahead of time. And that really, really helped me. That was key to my success, especially with my first master's, because I had a job that required me to travel a bunch, and I was barely ever like home to really sit and do homework because I was coaching at the time. Same thing with this last master's degree. I worked in admissions while I was going through that master's program, and I was always on the road recruiting. So being able to work on my time and still meet deadlines was very, very important to me. So if your portals are open, use that as an advantage. Definitely use it as an advantage. Another thing, you don't have to study the same thing that you studied in undergrad. So I went to undergrad and I graduated with a bachelor's degree in English with a minor in ESL. And as you see, I have a business master's degree, and then I have an education master's degree, which education and English are still kind of correlated, but they're not the same. And so say, for instance, if you want to go and study, say you want to study like psychology or sociology, and then you decide later on, like, hey, I think I want to get my master's in social work, you can do that. As long as you have, if the school that you're attending requires prereqs, as long as you have those prereqs, you should be fine. I would highly recommend, just for diversity purposes and to make yourself more marketable, that you don't get the same degree. Like, if you studied English in undergrad, don't get a master's in English. For what? Like, sometimes it can work out in your favor, but you want to be able to learn more and diversify your palette and utilize as many skills as you can. So if you're going to school and you keep studying the same thing just on different levels, eventually you're just relearning the stuff that you already knew, just at a different level. So I suggest, just for diversifying your palette and making yourself more marketable, don't go and get a master's in the same thing that you studied in undergrad. There is another thing. So another thing is, a lot of grad programs have a rule when it comes to grades. So my graduate school, the first school that I attended was Campbellsville University. And for my graduate program, I had a 2C rule. So the 2C rule means that from start to finish, you were only allowed to get 2 Cs. If you ended up with more than 2 Cs, they would drop you from your program. My program, it took me 1.5 years to graduate with my first master's degree. And I think I only got 1 C. But yeah, like if you get 2 Cs, sometimes they, depending on what the requirement is or what the rule is at your school, they will drop you. There are other programs, like my best friend went to Campbellsville University as well, and she studied social work at the master's level, and she was only allowed to get 1 C, and it took her 2 years to graduate her program. But that's because like her program, it allotted specific classes for you each semester, so it was gonna take 2 years regardless. My program was not like that. There were times during my program where I was taking 3 classes a bi-term, 4 classes a bi-term, so I was able to graduate early. But yeah, like each program is going to be different, and I would highly suggest, before you dedicate yourself and commit yourself to a specific program, you find out what your C rule is, because that can be a game changer for you when it comes to like finishing out your school. Okay. Another thing. So there are different ways that your classes are broken up, like semester wise or term wise. So of course, when you go to undergraduate, you have like fall semester, spring semester, summer term, December term, Jan term, whatever. But sometimes you also have things called bi-terms, and some schools actually work on trimesters. So I'll explain that to you as well. Both the schools that I graduated from, University of the Cumberlands and Campbellsville University, they both operated grad school wise on bi-terms. What that means is, for a full semester, it breaks everything down into 2 more terms. So from August to December, you would have term 1, which is from August to October, and then term 2 would be from October to December. Trimesters is pretty much where they split the whole thing into 3s. Everything is split into 3s. I've never went to school on trimesters. I do have friends that did trimesters, and they really enjoyed it. I love bi-term because it gave me the opportunity to feel like I was doing less work quicker. So this is why I say that, because majority of my classes, the portals were open. I was able to work ahead. So if your classes are bi-term, they're only 8 weeks long. So say, for instance, for one bi-term, you take 3 credit classes. That's 9 hours from August to October. And then in the second bi-term, which is going to be from October to December, you decide you only want to take 1 class. Technically, from grad school protocol and procedure, you're taking 12 credit hours, but it's going to be like easier for you to navigate that. It's not like taking 12 credit hours at one time, because they're going to be broken up into 8-week segments, right? So also another reason why I really like the by term is because it's accelerated, but also those semester long classes get really, really boring, and they get really, really annoying and tiring. And so if I only have to deal with the professor, especially if it's a professor that I don't like their teaching style, or the information is not interesting to me, if I only have to deal with that class for 8 weeks, I'm more likely to push through it, as opposed to having a semester long class that is like 16 weeks long, where I hate it so much that I decide that I'm not going to show up. It's more likely that you'll drop class or be kicked out of class when you have those long periods of classwork. So yeah. Books, I didn't buy them. I'm gonna be honest. There were some classes where I did purchase the book because I wanted to keep the resource and I wanted to have the information for later use. But for the most part, when it came to both of my grad programs, I did not purchase my books. Graduate school books are very, very expensive. Undergrad, because I was an English major, a lot of my classes required me to have 3 and 4 books, but those books were like $10 because I'm reading literature. I'm buying these big old books that are like rusty crusty, and they're not really worth that much money. But when I got to grad school and I was studying business and I was studying education, there's all these books were so expensive. I want to say like the most expensive book that I've paid for in grad school was $190, and that was one of my education books. It was like an ed psych book, I want to say. And that was a book that I did keep because it was really, really good information, and it definitely would help me not just in a classroom if I decided to be a teacher, but also in the field of work that I do. It would be very, very resourceful. So I decided to buy that book. There are some classes where it's required for you to have the book. Majority of your classes are going to require you to have the book. But I can say that there are a lot of classes that, even though it requires you to have the book, you can still pass the class with a B or an A without having the book. And I'm going to just leave that there. Okay? Okay. So, my experience with grad school is that I really enjoyed grad school. I like school as a whole. I will not be pursuing a PhD. I don't have a reason to. I don't really have a desire to either. But I can say that me having my master's definitely made me more marketable in the job market, and it gave me a lot of other opportunities, and it's put me in some really good positions to be a key player when it came to my employment. So I know a lot of people think like college is a scam, and especially grad school is a scam. But I can say that if I just went to college and I didn't get my master's degree, there are a lot of opportunities that would have passed me by because I did not have that extra degree. Now I have those extra 2 degrees, and my main thing is making sure that I get my money's worth when it comes to employment. So yes, I am now overqualified for a lot of jobs, but I'm also qualified for more jobs than I thought because of my master's, which also gives me a lot of opportunity to negotiate. So I'm going to say this: when you have the education and you have the experience that you need, you can ask for the money that you deserve. Okay. And sometimes you can ask for more money than you deserve. And that is actually what I would encourage everyone to do, is if you're going to go to grad school, make sure that you know, like, okay, this is what I want to get paid. This is what I feel comfortable with, and have your reasoning behind that and be able to verbalize that and articulate that so that you can get your coins. Because what are you going to school for if you're not trying to get your coins? I just want to know. Okay. But yeah, I enjoyed grad school. Tips. Grad school is not just about getting the degree. So if all you do is focus on the classwork and not the other stuff, you're going to kind of be a little screwed. when it comes time for like what happens after grad school. If you're going into a program that doesn't do job placement, or you're going into a program but you don't necessarily know specifically the avenue you really want to go yet with that degree, you can screw yourself. So this is what I'm going to say. Make sure that you network. Make sure that you are utilizing the skills that you have and utilizing the people that are around you as resources. So say, for instance, if you're in a sorority, you didn't just join your sorority for the cute jacket and to stroll on campus and to be cute. You joined your sorority so that you could give back to the community, build a bond with other men or women, other women just like you or similar to you, while also providing opportunities for growth for yourself, okay? So those women that are in your sorority, reach out to them, especially if there's like a grad chapter nearby. Reach out to them and get mentorship. Talk to these women and get your name out there, because a lot of times you'll get a job just because of who you know. And I'll say that again. A lot of times you can get a job based off of who you know. If you are not a part of GroupMe, which is an app, it's a communication app on, a phone. There are a lot of sorority and fraternity, Divine Nine, GroupMe accounts, and I'm in like a ton of them, and I see job postings all the time, and they're saying like, hey, I have this job, I want to hire somebody, I'm going to put it in this group chat. Now, had I not utilized my networking skills and talked to other women in my sorority, I would not have known about some of these group chats, and some of these job opportunities that I'm seeing would not be available to me because I wouldn't know about them. So make sure that you're networking, and networking the right way. Make sure that you know what networking means to you. Networking for some people may be different from networking to others. Like for me, networking is making contacts, making sure that they see my name, they know my name, and they can associate my name with my face so that they know who I am and why it's important to know who I am, okay? This networking also means to me making relationships that are reciprocal. So if I'm going to network with somebody, I want to be able to call them and ask them for advice, talk to them about, if I'm looking for a job, what should I be looking for, or what should I be doing to better my resume, blah, 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 blah. But also, if they have a position open, how can I help you fill that position? What kind of candidate are you looking for? Do I know somebody that fits that description? Whatever the case may be. Maybe it's collaborating on a presentation at a conference, or maybe it's introducing them to someone who's going to help them benefit their career. But that's what networking means to me. Making sure that my network and the people that I'm surrounding myself with can give me something while I'm also giving them something in return. Okay? What I say about grad school is like, you don't ever want to just jump into it. You kind of want to plan things out and do a lot of research and figure out what your best options are, because schooling is very expensive and there are not a lot of scholarships for graduate school and postdoc. Okay. So, a graduate school and doctoral. So start planning out like your junior year, figuring out what it is you want to do, if you want to go to grad school, if it's necessary for your career, and then start doing your research. Start going and visiting the graduate schools and seeing what they offer and see what their requirements are. Do you even meet the requirements to even apply? Things like that. And then lastly, scholarships. Scholarships are available. Even if you're not a part of a sorority or a fraternity, there are so many scholarships available through the Divine Nine organizations. So I would definitely recommend that you reach out to the graduate chapters in your area to find the scholarships. Just because you apply for one scholarship does not mean you can't apply for another. So say, for instance, if you apply for a scholarship with Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated and you get it, great, congratulations, get that money because it's good, whatever. But don't stop there. Go and reach out to Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated and Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Reach out to every single organization that you can and apply for every single scholarship that you qualify for and get all of them coins, because the money is there. Okay, sometimes this money just sits there and doesn't get utilized because nobody knows that the money is available. So I'm telling you, from one sorority sister to another, or maybe not another, to make sure that you are reaching out to these graduate chapters and finding out information about the scholarships that they offer for graduate students. Okay, same thing for undergraduate students as well. And also look at their national platforms, because sometimes it's not just coming from their chapter, but you can also get scholarship money from the organization, the national organization fund as a whole. Okay, so I know that was a lot of information, and I'm sorry this video was so long. It's 25 minutes long. But I just really wanted to get that information out there, especially to my Black and brown sisters, because, you know, we do make up a very, very, very large majority of the women who graduate with master's level degrees. So it is information that is needed, especially with how many students are first generation scholars. You want to make sure that you have as much information as you possibly can. And I want to be here to help you through whatever it is you have questions about. So if you have any questions about grad school, how to apply, just need advice, put them down below. If you've made it this far into the video, let me know. Tell me, what if you decided that you were going to go to grad school, what would you go to grad school for and why? Like, I'm really interested in knowing the whys and hows between like how people pick what school or what program they want to go into. I picked my program because I wanted to be able to work in leadership, like organizational leadership, my first degree. So that's why I got into management and leadership. And then my second degree was because I want to eventually go into like some kind of diversity and equity consulting, and understanding the brain and how people learn is very, very important. But I also kind of want to dibble and dabble and see if I would like being a professor. And there are a lot of colleges where you only need a master's degree to be a professor. So actually all colleges will, the minimum requirement to be a professor is a master's, unless they require or need you to have a PhD, but it's not necessarily a requirement. Anyways, so yeah, if you've made it this far, tell me what your master's degree is in and why you chose that program. But also, if you haven't received a master's degree yet and you are interested in grad school, tell me what you think you want to study. So it was nice talking to you guys, and until next time, I'll catch y'all later.